is going to help us learn how to structure our arguments as effectively as possible. So using this technique, you are going to be able to write arguments for a debate, or you're just going to be able to write good pieces of persuasive writing. So today's lesson is going to be a real key for everybody. If you get this right, the rest of it's going to be real easy. So, what is the Teal paragraph structure? Teal stands for topic sentence, explanation, evidence, and linking sentence. And it is a writing framework, and that means it is a method of structuring your writing that helps the author to create the most persuasive arguments possible for a debate. So this is just the most logical way to write your paragraph so that you can make your point as strong as possible. So, actually, before we get started breaking it down, does anybody have any questions so far? Nope. Terrific. Okay. Back to the slideshow we go. Whoop, not share my camera. You can already see my funny face. Okay. So the T stands for topic sentence. And the topic sentence introduces the main point or the argument of the paragraph. It must be clear, concise, and focused on the motion. So the motion that I've used for today's lesson is public schools would benefit from receiving more funding. So the description, it must be clear, concise, and focused on the motion. That simply means there can be no argument about what this topic sentence is saying. It needs to be crystal clear. Everyone needs to understand it. It needs to be concise. So that just means it needs to get to the point, and it shouldn't just waffle on. It shouldn't just blah, 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 blah. And of course, it needs to be focused on emotion. So it needs to be centered around the topic of the debate. And an example of a good topic sentence is increased funding for public schools is crucial to improve educational quality. So we see there, it's clear. We all understand what it means. The more money that we give to a public school, the better opportunities the students have. It's concise because it's not a long sentence. It's just short and straight to the point. And we know what the motion is, and it is very, very on point for the motion. The first E stands for explanation. The explanation should provide further details and elaborate on the topic sentence. So, like the description says, it just needs to provide more information or further expand the topic sentence, and it gives you the chance to further develop your point. So it develops the argument and provides context. So by providing context, it gives you a specific point of view about the topic sentence. So an example could be, for an explanation, you could explain the challenges faced by public schools, such as outdated infrastructure, so old buildings, and limited resources. So some public schools might not be able to afford the newest technology for their kids to be able to use. Okay. The second E stands for evidence. The evidence you provide should support the argument with relevant facts, examples, or statistics. So the main word to take away from that sentence is relevant. So if we're providing evidence, we of course need to make sure that it backs up the claim that we are currently making. We don't want it to, be random evidence about people's favorite pizza flavors or whatever. It needs to be exactly on the topic we're discussing right now. And it should also strengthen the persuasiveness of the paragraph. So we've talked about this before, where we've said that the evidence that you give is a good way of adding credibility to your argument. So if it's not just you making the argument, if it's a statistic from a government website or a scientist that studies the topic, and these people are known experts, by using their statistics or their data, you're going to add a lot of strength and credibility to your argument. People are more likely to believe you. So an example of evidence could be citing a study showing the correlation or the relationship between higher funding levels and better academic performance. So talk about a study that shows the relationship between giving schools more funding and the higher performance, the better grades that the students get, basically. And finally, the L stands for linking sentence or link to the motion. So the linking sentence should be connected to the paragraph's argument, and the evidence should back the overall motion. So it ensures relevance and coherence in the debate. So this linking sentence is like a paragraph summary, and you can use it to show, I'll use the example. So your linking sentence could highlight how increased funding for public schools directly relates to the better performance of students. So the linking sentence makes sure that we stay on topic and that our argument makes sense. Okay, so our next slide, I've taken all the color away except for the writing so that we can analyze a teal paragraph. So as we can see, the sentence that is written in red is our topic sentence. The sentences written in blue are our explanation. The sentences written in orange are our evidence. And the sentence written in green is our linking sentence. So we can see how all four of these parts of the paragraph work together to create a persuasive argument. So let's read this, shall we? Increased funding for public schools is essential to improve educational quality. Public schools are facing numerous challenges, including outdated infrastructure, limited resources, and overcrowded classrooms. Without adequate funding, it becomes difficult to address these issues and provide a conducive learning environment for students. According to a study by the National Education Association, schools with higher funding levels consistently show better academic performance and higher graduation rates. Additionally, examples from various states have demonstrated that increased funding has led to improved student outcomes, such as higher test scores and increased access to extracurricular activities. Therefore, allocating more resources and funding to public schools is crucial to ensure that every student has an equal opportunity to receive a quality education and succeed in their academic journey. Now, how is everybody going so far? Do we have any questions?
No.
Beautiful. All right, so we have a practice activity to do today. So we're all going to have a go at writing a teal paragraph. And I'm going to be right here to talk you through the process. So, the benefits of the teal structure. So by using this teal structure for our writing and for our debate arguments, we give ourselves the opportunity to be much more organized in our writing, and we can present our argument or our point of view a lot clearer. So we make it a lot more understandable for the person reading or listening to our argument. Makes it nice and easy to follow along. We give ourselves so we can improve our persuasiveness and the impact that we have on the debate. So by improving our persuasiveness, we are increasing the chances that the audience and the judges will listen to what we're saying, believe what we're saying, and that will allow us to have a bigger impact on the debate. And what that means is that simply, people are going to remember what you say. People are going to remember it and they're going to believe it. And the teal structure allows you to develop your critical thinking and logical reasoning skills. So critical thinking is where you don't just believe what you're told. You have a process in your brain where you ask yourself a series of questions, and it makes you validate the information before you believe it. So if someone was to walk up to you today and say, "Oh, did you know that if you feed puppy dogs a salad with their dinner every night, you can make them fly in the sky like an aeroplane?" Now, if you have critical thinking skills, you're going to stand back and you're going to say, "Wait a second, dogs can't fly." And you're going to think through it and realize, nah, he's just talking a bunch of rubbish. And logical reasoning skills are where you look at a problem and you work through the solution one step at a time. So there can be a few different ways. So people can work from the problem to the solution by starting with what they've been given, making a few decisions about it, and those develop into the solution. Or you can work backwards, work out what your solution, work out which solution you want, and then work backwards. So how do I get to that solution? How do I get to that step? And you keep working backwards until you eventually end up at the problem. So both of those ways of thinking, they're both equally as good as each other. It really just comes down to how you want to solve that problem or how you want to create that argument. Whoop, I missed out a C. So next up, we are going to do a practice activity, not a practice activity. I'm going to give you a motion, and that motion is, are video games good for children? So you're going to have 15 minutes to write the paragraph using the teal structure to create an argument. You only need to do one. And if you need any help, you can ask me for help in the chat box. So, I see a message. What's Stella saying no to? Okay, so we have our motion. We have my sideways camera. So let's look at what we have to work with right now. So we have our, well, we have our topic. Are video games good for children? We have our, I'll let you decide the motion. What are we all saying no to? I'm confused. I keep getting messages that say no, but I don't know what you're talking about. So we have our topic. So you don't have to tell me your motion now because we're going to present our paragraphs before the end of class. So we have our topic. We have our motion that you get to pick, and we have the teal paragraph structure.
This is my favorite sausage. Very juicy. I like this sausage. Really nice. I'll go get it.
Okay, so we have these three things. So just a little bit of some advice that I'll give to you is try to, so I want you to use some real research or some real evidence in this paragraph. Excuse me. So we're going to try to use a search engine to look for some evidence. So the first thing we need to do is come up with our argument. So we need to be able to justify our reason why we agree with the motion. So, yeah, so first of all, we need to come up with an argument. And that argument could be one part of the overall question. So if you are saying video games are good for children, you might use an argument like it can help us develop better reflexes and motor skills, for example. 1 second, Andrew. If you are taking the motion, video games are not good for children, you might choose the argument, too much screen time can damage our eyes. So we need to come up with an argument, and then we need to find some research that backs our argument up. So Andrew, what's your question? What would you like to ask?
Do we need to write in our book or in the chat box?
Well, everybody is going to read. Everyone's going to read and speak their paragraph to the class. So whatever's easier for you. If it's easier to write on paper, you can write on paper. If it's easier to write it on the computer, you can write it on the computer. But everyone's going to say their paragraph at the end of class. Katie, do you have a question?
No, but I have a question that if we write it in the book, then do we have to write it on the chat?
No. So you can pick one or the other, write it on the paper or write it on the computer. But I'm not interested today in, or I'm not interested yet in seeing your paragraph. I want to hear everybody speak their paragraph to the class. So that's the most important thing about how you write it, is what's going to be easier for you to help you talk to the class. Okay. Now, a little bit of advice on doing some research. So use a search engine like Google or Bing. And what you want to do is search for studies or statistics on the topic. So yeah, so look for information. Bing is another search engine, like similar to Google, but just different. So we want to search for things like studies on children's video game use, or find a sentence to type in that describes what you're looking for. So you're looking for evidence of the effects of children playing video games. I'll type a couple of possible searches into the chat. So I've given you 4 possibilities. Maybe you could think of another one to use. But if we have a look here, so you could search something like the effects of video games on children. And that should bring up some articles, maybe some studies that have been done, or you could type in study on the effect of video games on children, and that will be a more specific search to look for like scientific studies that have been done. You can change the word study for statistics if you're looking for a different kind of evidence. Or you can search for things like, if you want to search for a specific side of the debate, you can type in things like the negative effects of video games on children. Or if you think video games are good for children, you could type in the positive effects of video games on children. So do those basic search ideas help? They all make sense? Terrific. Okay, are there any questions, guys? Are there any questions about what we have to do now? We've got to do we've got to plan our sentence, plan our paragraph out, work out what side of the argument we're on. We've got to come up with an argument, and we have to find some research that backs our point of view. And the last thing I will say before I set you loose is make sure you cite your sources. So as we saw in that example paragraph that I wrote, where is it here? I made sure to mention, according to a study by the National Education Association. So make sure you mention whoever told you this information in your evidence sentences. Okay, you've got 15 minutes, guys. Get to work. And if you have any questions or you need any help, please type a question into the chat box and I'll answer it for the class. So, what are you doing, John? You're spinning in your chair.
Teacher, is that 3 things like usually? I can't hear you. You turn off your mic, please.
Sorry. So 3 things like what? I don't understand the question.
If we write this, how many sentences did we need to write? 3?
Okay. So there are 4 sections of a teal paragraph.
Okay.
We need our topic sentence first. Then the next sentence or 2 are to expand on your point. Then the next, you might need maybe 2 or 3 evidence sentences, and then 1 linking sentence. So I'd say you'll probably need 5 or 6 sentences minimum and about 8 or 9 sentences at the maximum.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. 5 minutes left, everybody. I hope you're making good progress. I've got to get out of the habit of forgetting whether I've muted or not. Are we all finished, or do we need a couple of more minutes?
A couple of more minutes, please.
Okay, so my clock currently says 11:46. So we're going to start presenting at 11:50. You have 4 more minutes. So make sure you finished your paragraphs. Okay, I even gave you 1 extra minute, so time is up. So, who would like to go first? Looks like Katie would like to go first. So, Katie, please read us your teal paragraph.
I choose video game are not good for children. My explain is because video game can make children lazy. If children take more times to play video games, and when they get to work, they will not work. They just sit there and spin their pencils and maybe pen.
And what about your evidence and your linking sentence?
Not yet finished, but I just finished the topic sentence and explain.
Okay, well, the topic sentence and the explanation were very good. But don't worry, because our homework before next class is going to be to write another 2 examples of a teal paragraph. I'll give you the topics at the end of class for it though, but good job so far, Katie. Good job. All right, Kevin wants to go next.
Okay. So video games are not good for children. I think that video games are not good for children because they damage their eyes. So that is why I think that video games are bad for children. I have heard of many parents saying that video games are too violent for children. So that is one of the reasons why I think that video games are bad for children. Also, playing video games can damage your brain and reduce your IQ level. Video games can be too expensive too. For example, the PS5 can cost up to hundreds of dollars. Playing video games can be fun, but it will be bad for children. I hope many parents can consider so that their child will play video games not too much.
Okay, so overall it was good. Overall it was good, but a couple of points are in an argument like a debate, I probably would not cite my parents unless they are well-known experts in the topic we're debating. So that's why we want to practice our research skills and look for sources online. And as well, you want to try and stick to one argument per paragraph. So we started off talking about that your parents said that video games were quite violent, and that is a good argument to follow. But then in the same paragraph, you started talking about how the PS5 can cost a lot of money. So both good points, but you just want to make sure that you only stick to 1 point per paragraph. So up here, you could talk about the video games being too violent. And then in your next paragraph, a separate paragraph, you could talk about the game consoles and the equipment being very expensive. So you just try and keep them separate. But otherwise, Kevin, a very good job. Okay, so we've had Katie and Kevin. Who wants to go next? Who would like to go next? If I don't get a volunteer, I'm just going to pick somebody at random. Let's go with Tom.
Yes, teacher.
Could you please read us your paragraph?
My paragraph just some benefits,
Yep, so you're going to talk about video games being good for children? Okay, let's hear what you've got then.
Playing video game is really fun, but if you play video games too much, it can make you distressful, your eyes hurt, and can make you very hard to sleep. But video games can teaching kids about cultures, can help kids make friends with peoples in games too.
Okay, so that sounds like you were just trying to think of what you were saying as you were saying it, because your argument kind of jumped all over the place, from supporting video games to saying they're fun, to going back to saying that they can damage your eyes. And so we need a little bit more preparation in your paragraph when you write them, if you want your arguments to be more persuasive. So if we want to try and convince somebody of something, we do need to put in that effort to think about our arguments a bit more before we say them. Okay, thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
I think I saw Stella with her hand up.
I choose that video game is good for kids.
I'm interested to hear this. Go on.
So almost every student likes to play video games. In my opinion, I think it is good too, because they can help kids to imagination, like they are about a game you're planting. Maybe you can think about you are in a garden planting trees. And also they can also be an adventure for kids to play when they are bored. Like in the summer, if you don't have anything to do or have no adventures, you can play video games a little bit to make you feel better. So I think we should at least let children play video games for 30 minutes, because some of them can even teach your child some good things.
Very well done, Stella. The only thing I would say is that you should try to find some sources of evidence to use, so that it adds a bit more credibility to your argument. But that was a good structure. It was a good flow of information, and you stuck to the one topic. So that was very good, Stella. Thank you. Okay, Andrew's got his hand up.
Okay, I'm going to present. So my motion, I believe that video games are good for children.
Very good.
So video games are absolutely good for children. First, when children play video games, it gives their brain a real workout. In many video games, the skills required to win involve abstract and high-level thinking. These skills are not even taught at school. When children play a game such as The Incredible Machine, Angry Bird, or Cuts the Rope, they train their brains to come up with creative ways to solve puzzles and other problems in short bursts. Next, it can improve children's positions. In shooting games, they need to run and shots at the same time, and this must need a very high attentional brain. Children keep playing If children keep playing these games, they can pay attention to the things they do. Another reason is these games can also help children to improve their thinking speed about what is the aim to shot and where the characters are going. According to a study from Beth Eraso Medical Center, many gamers can make fewer mistakes than non-gamers. In addition, they help children know how to plan, resource management, and logistics. Children can learn how to keep money and how to plan for their budgets. This skill is honed in strategy games such as SimCity, Age of Empires, and Railroad Tycoon. Notably, the American Planning Association, the Trade Association of Urban Planners, and planners and maxes. The creators of these games have claimed that the games have inspired a lot of their players to take a career in urban planning and architecture. Therefore, I strongly believe that video games are good for children's brains.
That was amazing, Andrew. So you had multiple examples, which is the only thing that I would say probably separate them. So, but you had a solid point, you provided examples, you provided evidence, and you finished with, sorry, I just got distracted there. And you finished with a really nice linking sentence that brought everything back together. So well done, Andrew. Well done. Okay, so I think next I just need John, Amy, Luna, and George to go. I think you guys are the only ones left to go. So I'll start with John.
Yes, I'm not quite finished yet, but
Just give us what you've got.
So, according to my research on Bing, video games can cause repetitive stress injuries, sleep deprivation, vision problems, addiction, family interaction, depression, and aggressive behavior. So it's hard to get away with these problems when you are playing video games too much. And video game console is very expensive. So maybe you won't have enough money to buy them. And the disc of that game is very expensive too. So if you want to play that game, it will gonna cost a lot of money. And maybe you won't have money to buy. Maybe you can only afford to buy the disc and you won't have the console yet.
Okay, so that's a good start that you've made. And I look forward to hearing your paragraph when it's completed. So,
okay.
Thank you very much. Luna, you're up next. What's your paragraph?
Well, my paragraphs are about the not supporting video games.
Okay, let's hear it.
So can I share screen?
Yeah, sure, if you'd like to.
Thanks. Well, video games are bad for people. One reason is that addiction is a huge problem now. Still, it's unlikely that someone would die from this compared to the next idea. Video games can make you delusional. You might attempt to fly as if you sprout to wings out of nowhere. The American Psychiatric Association Agnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders confirms that. So how do we prevent it? To me, it would be awareness in moderate usage, but to someone does The best thing we can do is consult a professional. Though healthy or not, you still need that.
Very good, Luna. So you had a very good topic sentence. You went on to expand well. You provided some terrific evidence, but we just need to work on your linking sentence to bring the idea together. But overall, that was very good. Thank you very much, Luna. Well done.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Okay. Who would like to go next, George or Amy? All right, Amy. You're on mute.
I'm with the same reason with John, and I just can't think please wait. Where is it? I just can't think of the topic sentence and the explanation, but I don't have many reasons.
Okay, so next lesson, we're going to go a little bit further into this, and I'm going to teach you some research strategies. I'm going to, I'll actually start the lesson by demonstrating from start to finish how I would write a teal paragraph, and then I'll break it down and go through it step by step with you, and we'll give it another go. So, George, do you have anything to present for the class?
No, I don't have anything.
No worries. Okay, so like I say, next lesson, I'll teach you how to research, and we'll go through how to construct a teal paragraph in some more detail to help you guys out. So, there's not really any homework I can give you today. So I'll send you guys a handout for the teal paragraph structure. Read it, study it well, and I really want you to learn everything you can about the teal paragraph structure, because believe me when I say that once you know how to write a good teal paragraph and do your research, I know I've sent you that one as well, but I'm going to send you a shorter one too. So yeah, so once you can write a good teal paragraph, and once you know how to research well, debating just becomes the easiest thing in the world, because all you have to do is just remember a few rules. So good lesson today, guys. Read the handout I'm going to send in the group, and I want you to have it memorized. I want you to know what a teal paragraph is so well that you could write one in your sleep. And then we're going to go through the process next lesson. So study the handout, and I'll see you all on Thursday. Bye, guys.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye, teacher.
Goodbye.
Very, very hungry.
Have
Yes,
a
I
good
can.
night. Have a yummy lunch. Goodbye.
Goodbye, everybody. Go get something to eat so you're not hungry anymore.
Nice lunch. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, everybody.